that's exactly how you build a business.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same concept over and over. Everybody thinks it's complicated. It's not.
Bit Cyan 2023 says, starting my new business.
But this is actually a really good question.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
You and I have had this conversation.
All the time. I have this conversation at least once a week with a new client. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to see you, man. I'm tired. I'm still on West Coast time. I just got back from Burning Man. Holy cow! What an unbelievable adventure that was. I can't even describe it. I showed you some of the videos, but you just have no idea. It was crazy. It really was. Everything you can think of is going on out there. And I mean everything you can think of is going on out there. Some things you can't wait to see. Some things you don't want to see.
We'll see it.
But you're forced to.
Based on what I've heard from that festival, that sums it up.
It's not a festival.
Oh, sorry.
It is not a festival.
Based on that event.
Event
description.
Fine. We call it. It's my first time going. A celebration of art is what it is.
Yes.
And it really is. It's all art. Everywhere is art now. Art's in the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So art's in the eye of the beholder, and what's considered art is in the eye of the beholder. But everything out there really is based on art. Like I showed you, there's cars that are those crazy gigantic things but the art is beautiful on them. I mean, they must take a year to build these things.
At least.
Some of it's as simple as really pretty LED lights in the shape of like a seahorse and stuff like that. So there's all everything in between.
So is it like? Does it get spectacular at night and it's just horrible during the day, or like? Yeah,
so I wouldn't use the word horrible.
Okay.
Although there are times I would use the word horrible. So I would say
I'm going to say it's a desert.
I would say
during the daytime.
It is a desert without question, and the sand and the dust is it's pretty crazy. It's actually a little overwhelming with the dust sometimes. But I would say this: in the mornings where most people aren't up because they've been out all night partying. I'm not that guy to party all night. Not anymore. Not at my age, right? But I would get up sometimes. Well, the first couple of days, got up like 6, 7 in the morning just because of East Coast time, right? It's 3 hours difference over there. So my East Coast time would West Coast 3 hours earlier. I'm up at like 6, 7 in the morning, and it's absolutely gorgeous out. Just gorgeous, like nice 50 degrees, 55 degrees. I probably walked a good 3-4 miles around different camps, seeing what people were doing with their camps. People are serving breakfast, coffee, juices. Like, oh, this is so cool because it's like a community, right? You don't pay for anything out there except for ice. You have to buy ice if you want ice, right? And whatever. But everything else is like people just give it to you. It's like really cool. And then around like 10, 11 o'clock, it starts getting warmer, but not intrusively hot. So you start talking, meeting people and such. But then around noon, 12:30. That's when the sun's like, yeah, I got you, buddy.
It's got to be unbearable.
Right? It's that Super Mario 3 where the sun's trying to kill you. That's the desert. Damn. From like 12:30 to about 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Okay.
It gets pretty bad. Like you
so
really
like
need to
seek shelter, shade.
Seek shelter if you can. A lot of places were set up in really cool spots where it'd be nice and shady. And then they like their entire camp was to provide shade and comfort for people during that time, right? And they had like beds and pillows, beds, and things for people to set up where you could just kind of lay down. And it was positioned so like a breeze would come through. It was kind of nice. And so as long as you could avoid that time of day, and then around 5:30, 6 o'clock, as the sun starts going down, it gets nicer. And then around 8:30, 9 o'clock is when the sun is down.
Right.
And that's where the dream world begins,
everything
my friend.
comes. Oh, yeah.
I cannot. The first night I stepped onto the playa, which is where all the art and festivities and everything's going on. My buddy and I was both our first time. We're called virgins or first time burners or whatever. We stepped out onto that playa, and the both of us just had our jaws were just like. I could not believe what I was looking at. I mean, imagine a city the size of Las Vegas. Right?
Right.
Where every square inch of it is covered in some type of light, moving object, people on bikes, people themselves with LEDs all over them, there's lights glowing. And 100, maybe 150 different of these art vehicles that are enormous, playing different music, different DJs. Everything's all over. It was unbelievable. I could not believe what I was looking at. And it's so big. It's huge.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And you don't have buildings like in Vegas obstructing your view.
Right.
You have this clear line of sight to the complete opposite side. And it's the entire desert is just covered in lights. Oh my God, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And that alone was worth going out there to experience just that piece. Mm-hmm. I went from Saturday through Sunday. So, Saturday through the following Sunday because I wanted to get there early to help set up the camp.
Yep.
But everything really begins on Sunday. And then, but if and when I go back, I'll probably do a shorter run, probably Wednesday through Sunday or Monday or something like that. It was just a little long for me.
It is.
But my God, was it incredible! And then the end of it on Saturday when they do the actual Burning Man. I showed you the video for that too.
Did.
Holy cow, was that incredible! I literally thought they were just going to put this thing on fire, everyone's cheering and stuff. They blew that bastard up. I mean, you saw the mushroom cloud out of the explosion that came. What I didn't show you was the video.
More than a couple of gallons of gasoline.
Oh my God. It was insane. And then it took about an hour for everything to fall down and fall apart. Yep. And then once it got to a baseline of about 3 to 4 feet on the flames, the guards let everyone come in. And for the rest of the night, people are just running around the flames. It's apparently it's a thing they do. It's a tradition.
Okay.
I was just like, what are these people doing? There's a lot of them just getting naked and just running around the place. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
That's funny.
It was awesome. I'd love to do it again. Timing, it just kind of worked out timing wise this time, but it's definitely something you got to prepare for. That desert is no joke.
It's a commitment.
It really is. We got lucky. Again, we had maybe one small dust storm for a couple hours, maybe.
So I've got a question.
Yeah.
Who ends up making money off of this?
It's nonprofit. So apparently it's a nonprofit organization that runs this. It's not about making money.
So they just fundraise throughout the year and sell tickets and
the tickets. I mean, there's 70,000 people.
Yeah.
$500 a ticket. That's millions and millions of dollars.
So that's what they use to then, do
because
all
think
the
about
basics.
it. All they really need to do is, the organization as far as organizing the event. I gotta tell you, it's pretty spectacular. They do a hell of a job getting people in and out, which is really difficult. I'm just setting up the camps and everything like that. But realistically, other than the organization, the porta potties, stuff like that, there's not much to it because the infrastructure is all built by the people. It's a city of people.
Can you imagine a buddy comes over to your house and goes, I have an idea. What is it? I want to put something up in the desert.
Oh, I have the story.
With porta potties, and then we're going to set something on fire, and we're all going to go hang out there for a week.
So for anyone who knows the actual story of Burning Man, if I get this wrong, please let us know. This is what was explained to me.
Okay.
A guy named Larry, I can never remember his last name, just got out of a bad relationship. And he and a couple of friends went to the beach somewhere in California. I forget the name of the beach that they went to.
Okay.
And he built this little structure. It wasn't nearly as big as the one that's there now. And they burned it after partying all night. And then they decided they were going to do it every year. And they did it for 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And eventually the police, and it got bigger and bigger every year. It went from 5 people to 10 to 30.
Right.
And eventually the police were like, look, you can't keep doing this, right? So they took a year off. Figured out what are they going to do. Somehow, someone said, "Hey, here's a great idea. Let's go in the middle of the desert." Right?
Yeah, that's
where the dust
idea.
is so fine that 2 years later you're still going to find it in your clothes.
Yes.
And let's go do it out there. And it just grew and grew and grew. From what I understand, it was in the mid 90s, early mid 90s, 93, 94, it was 5, 6, 7,000 people. And then one year just went from 7,000 to 20,000. Wow. And then 20 to 30. And now it's up to, last year it was 80,000 people. But then there was problems with the rains last year. So a lot of people didn't go this year. So this year was 67, 70. Okay. That's a hell of a lot of people.
But it's still, it's funny because this is how businesses grow too, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is how everything grows.
Right.
it starts with an idea and some guy doing something because he had a bad breakup, it sounds like.
That's the
right?
story I was told. I don't know. I want to read the book eventually.
And that eventually turns into a festival of 70,000 people in the middle of a desert.
Yeah,
right?
no kidding.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's everybody you can think of. I mean, everybody from an attorney like me who's very conservative in nature. I don't get naked and go out there. A lot of people do. I never understood that part, but sure, we're in the desert. You do you.
Whatever floats your boat.
And
right?
so everything in between, man. It was quite the experience.
Are there like cops and
fire
department?
Oh yeah,
and
there's federal rangers out there.
So they literally build an entire town
from scratch
that hosts this event for 7 days.
Yes.
So it hosts the event. I'm not saying it doesn't go. They probably need longer preparation.
A little before, a little after,
and clean up, like whatever.
Well,
right?
apparently, cleanup's like a couple of months.
Okay.
Yeah. So the big thing is we say leave no trace, right? Which is, and I've seen pictures, the before and after pictures. You'll see before, nothing there. Whole city emerges. I mean, you're talking 80,000 people, right? There's trash, there's things like that. When everyone leaves, there's nothing there. It's like it never happened. It's not like these other music festivals and stuff where there's trash everywhere and porta potties. It's not like that. Everything is cleaned up. When we left our camp, now I left a couple days before the camp was officially closed.
Yep.
But all the trash was cleaned up. Everything was taken away. You don't see, and I've seen people do this where, number one, if you see something laying on the ground, people will pick it up, put it in their pocket until they find a trash can or no, there's no trash cans. You have your own trash bags or whatever. I saw people, they came to our camp for a happy hour, and I was outside trying to bring people in, and somebody dropped something that had like some substance on it, right? And it wasn't meant to be on the ground. It's called MOOP, M-O-O-P. It's like this, whatever, organic material, whatever. And like 6 people spent 5 minutes cleaning up that area about this big to make sure that area was cleaned and that the non-organic material wasn't there.
Right.
That's how serious they take it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. So speaking of cool, let's see what's going on in the world of Reddit today, shall we?
Yes.
Before we keep going, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
Oh, and the like button. The like button's our friend.
The like button is our friend. Yes, we do like the like button. So please hit that too.
And thanks for the support. Let's keep it moving.
All right, let's see what we got today. How about Clueless? Let's see what Clueless is. This is from Melina66. It says, I've always wanted to start a business. However, they require a bit of capital and don't want to ask my family or friends to invest. Do you guys know any online business ideas that I can start with $1,000? I've tried drop shipping, Amazon, and it's not working out.
So
$1,000.
Let's be clear.
Franchise. Okay.
Let's be differently clear. So there's a difference between what I would call like side hustle type businesses and actually starting a business, right? So in the same words as he's saying, I want to start a business, he's basically bringing up things that are normally considered side hustles, right? Like Amazon FBA, unless you are taking it seriously and you're doing your homework and you actually become a wholesaler, right? Because that's what an Amazon FBA is, right? Is you're essentially a middleman that buys stuff in bulk. You float the initial cost of it, and then Amazon is your retailer, and you get to keep whatever the difference is.
Right. Yep.
Is it a legit business? Yes, but you have to understand how to scale it as a business. As far as needing capital to start a business, no, you can start a lawn mowing business for $197 on a used lawnmower. Right. So this illusion of starting a business requires capital, no, starting some businesses requires capital. A lot of times the only capital you really need is your time.
Sweat equity, yeah.
Correct, right? Yeah.
I mean, I think they're asking specifically. They're not. They said online businesses,
idea,
but
right.
It doesn't need to be online. You're right.
Correct.
It could be some type of service,
but this is
business that you could certainly do for less than $1,000. But even online businesses,
correct.
Right?
But this is in part because of all of these, like TikTok and Instagram and all this going, oh, look, I bought my
Right.
dream car
Right, I'm
doing
an
Amazon
influencer,
FBA.
yeah.
Right. Like, and you're like, you realize that happens in like 0.01% of instances. Like you have a higher chance of making $1 million being a landscaper than doing Amazon FBA.
Oh, well, that's the same thing as
Right.
like basketball fallacy, right? Everyone, a good basketball player in high school thinks they're going to go on to the NBA. You're right. It's like there's
No.
0.001% that
Correct.
actually move on to the NBA and make a career out of it.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's the same thing here.
It's so with this, if you're looking at an online business, then start thinking in terms of how do online businesses function, right? What are you good at? What are you not good at? Because I've seen people start Shopify stores and do really well for themselves. Not something necessarily a product or that they had that was scalable, but they did really well with their little Shopify store selling something niche that you otherwise can't get. I've also seen people take a Shopify store and scale it, right? But it's because they understood business and they understood the back end of things. If you're looking for an online business as far as easy money, that does not exist.
It doesn't exist.
Doesn't
There's no
exist.
such thing.
Correct.
You got to work hard at it. You got to put your time and effort into it. You got to learn how to scale it, how to build it, what
Correct.
people want, what they're looking for.
And understanding how to set everything up. Like I was amazed. I saw there was a guy that sells. He almost has like a coaching program, right? And he runs it. It's just him and two other guys. They have automated 99% of the business, right? So there's always that 1% you always have to deal with. And I was surprised when I saw they were doing like $33 million a year in gross revenue.
Wow.
With 3 guys. And then when you start looking at it, you're like, yeah, but you spent 9 years building out all these automations.
Sure.
So like you were probably cash flow negative for the first 2 years or barely scrimpting by, but you figured out a way to automate so many things, and now you're banking big on it, right?
Yeah, and the way you automate it is you have to know what actually needs to be done. You can't just say, hey, let me go build a business and automate it. You need
Correct.
to know what needs to be done in that business
Correct.
before you can start automating it.
And I always like the example of when Elon Musk went and slept on the factory floor, right? Is he was trying to find the inefficiency in their production line. And the belief had been, for the most part, that robots will do things faster than humans. When they actually started going down the production line, they realized that there were certain things that humans would do faster than the robots.
Right, I heard about this.
Right? But by default, they assumed that automation would be better. That's proof that it's not. It's better in certain things, but it's not better in others.
It's better in predictable tasks.
Yeah, but it's an assembly line. Like everything should be predictable.
Well, I guess to a point. I mean,
Right.
there's always some type of
So
customization.
I believe what it ended up having to do with was the maneuverability, that the robot couldn't
oh, I see.
maneuver things as quickly as a human being could.
Right.
Right? Like
Couldn't
it
get
needed
into that
more
tight spot or
it
something.
needed more time to adjust into
Yeah.
like it was fascinating. But once again, you don't know how to build a lot of this stuff and do a lot of this stuff until you get started and you learn what the downfalls are and the pitfalls and what works and what doesn't work, right? And then the marketing side of it. People tend to forget how much exposure, how much information you need to put out there, whether that's ads or content or like the amount of exposure you need to build any type of business is insane. When you're doing Amazon FBA, Amazon provides you with that exposure. If you're doing your own thing online, you have to get all of that stuff done.
Right. And the amount of money and time involved in doing that is...
People don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people don't want to hear
Right.
it.
They think after 3 months, oh, I should have 1,000 visitors by
Yes.
now, 100,000 visitors by now, 1 million.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work. You're lucky if you get one.
And I always bring it back to like, okay, let's compare your online business to a brick and mortar business. So let's say, I'll give you an example of an actual real life client. So they are a basement waterproofing company. Mm-hmm. We know that they can finish a job approximately every 2 days, which means in order to stay busy for the entire month, they need to have at least 11 jobs lined up.
Okay.
Right? That's the minimum. We know that in order to get 11 jobs, depending on what the lead source is, they are going to need approximately 110 leads every month. Sorry, approximately 80 leads every month.
Okay.
Give or take, right? Because
So 80 leads will lead to 11 jobs.
yes.
Okay.
So if you put that into perspective, that means that if you are selling, and they're selling an item that only requires 11 jobs, right? Or 22, whatever if you're selling a $4.99 trinket, the number of traffic you need in order to sell enough volume of that trinket is insane.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because if you have a 3% conversion rate or a 7% conversion rate, in order to sell 1,000 of those trinkets, you now need 40,000
Right.
people to come look at it or get in front of 40,000 people. Like, people don't understand the sheer volume of numbers when they're doing online marketing stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and a lot of it's because they think they understand the sheer volume of numbers of who's online. And while it's true, yeah, there's hundreds of millions or billions of people online, there's billions of places to go.
Correct.
And you are a grain of sand, on a beach somewhere in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Compared to what's on the internet. So how people are going to find you.
Correct.
It doesn't just, you don't just build it and they come, right?
No. It's the marketing part of it with any business. If you don't have what I call an exposure system in place, it doesn't matter what business you have, you're not very likely to be able to grow that business if you don't know how to get more exposure for it. Right? And people are like, well, I've heard the argument that, the big brands don't need to worry about that. I'm like, Nike spends upwards of 11% of their gross revenue
Just on marketing. Yeah.
just on marketing, and not just any type of marketing. They spend almost half of that just on brand marketing, just on making sure that you see their logo. They spend it on exposure. They don't spend it on direct trackable, like bottom of funnel type marketing.
Right.
And yeah, Disney does it, Coke does it, everybody does it, right? All the big guys understand that exposure is the key to growth. And not only growth, it's the key to stability.
Yeah, you got to keep that brand in front of
Correct.
people's eyes. And so back to our question here, So I would say if you're starting with $1,000, you might as well start with nothing, right? It has nothing to do with how much money you have at that point. There are plenty of businesses you can do with very little capital. Plenty of them. Again, the landscaping idea, quite a few dog walking services, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're trying to get online, then sure, there are services you can do online as well. Plenty of them. Go learn, like you mentioned this before. Go learn to be a prompt master. Right,
Yeah.
learn how to prompt a lot of these AI programs, how to properly prompt them, and then sell that service to companies.
Learn how to prompt, and then do seminars for business owners.
Yeah.
Right. Like right now, there's a market for it.
Oh, huge one! And
Right?
it's growing bigger every day.
Because people are afraid. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do that's online, but there's a difference between online and automated. And whenever I see questions and comments like this, I by default think, oh, they're looking for some type of automated business because they want to be that, oh, I only worked 4 hours this week and I did $1 million in sales. Like that's the vibe I get from this type of stuff, which I'm not a fan of because the success rate of those.
It doesn't just come. You have to, everyone
Correct.
that's out there might be a few, a few examples of the overnight success ones, but everybody else really, really worked their butt off. If you're using a service today, that service has probably been around for 10 years and you just never knew about it. And they've been building their brand and their product and everything all that time.
Or if it's a new service, they might still be operating at losses.
Right.
Right? Depending on what it is.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for SaaS companies, for example, to operate on their loss for
how long was Twitter at a loss? Twitter was a loss for like first 10 years, wasn't it?
Twitter never
turned a profit
until they were bought out.
Right.
Same thing. Facebook, I think last year was the first year they ever showed a profit. Up until then, it had all been about the user acquisition, which you can take at a loss when you're building stuff like that, but someone has to fund it.
Yeah.
Right? So.
All right, so good luck to you, Melina. We pray that you do well. All right, let's see. Bits Cyan 2023 says, starting my new business. Hi, everyone. I'm starting a community for people who are serious to improve themselves on a daily basis. All you have to do is join our community and update us daily about your daily status and daily progress. It is a paid community, but the monthly membership is less than a cab ride in the city. So if you're looking for a serious community to join, this is the one, blah, 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 blah. DM me to get started. Okay, I have no idea what they're offering. I mean, I know what they're offering, but they're not really asking for advice. Probably more like a promotion.
Correct.
But let's see. Is this something that's going to work? Probably not.
You would be surprised.
Really? I would be surprised.
Remember the guy that I just told you
about?
about?
That's right. Yeah.
That's like, if this is done correctly and someone is steering the community and genuinely being helpful, yeah, I would say this is 60% of what that guy did.
So
right?
why would I want to pay to be part of a community like that?
You and I both know that a payment gateway is also often a gateway to better qualified people inside something, right? Perfect example. Why would you pay to go to a networking event for business when there's a bunch of free ones out there?
Because you know the people that are going to put their money into it are also they're going to be real legitimate, whereas the free ones are going to attract just everybody.
Correct.
And you're not going to get quality people.
Correct.
Of course.
Right? You and I both know this.
Yeah.
So with these types of communities, I mean, this is what, what's his name? Alex Hermosi's new concept, school.com, is basically creating these communities where you pay a moderator, so to speak, or a trainer or a teacher, but then you get to interact with other people that are in your school community. So basically like a school works. Mm-hmm. And if you're paying $5.99 a month, not $5.09, but $599 a month to be part of a online mastermind community, everybody else that's paying $599 is probably going to be somewhere around the same level you are, right, where you are. So I like the idea of online paid communities because it often works as a deterrent for people that don't belong.
But how do you so let's take this, let's say that this guy was asking us how to start a paid community. How do you start it, right? How do you get people to want to put their money out at the beginning of it when there's no one there or where there's very little brand recognition?
So I always tell people start free, right? Give it away and let it build to a certain point where it gets to the point where you say, I can no longer sustain this on a free model. So now I'm going to start a paid version of this. I'll grandfather in the 1,000 people in my community, whatever, at a lower rate, and then increase the price for the next generation coming in, so to speak, right? Exactly what we were talking about with Burning Man, right? Is at first it was all free and they just did it and it was a tiny little thing and then it started growing and eventually it became a community of 70,000 people that are paying how much for a ticket?
$5.75?
Right. So this is the model that works not only like in person, it also works with online communities.
Right.
But and a lot of this stuff is being built right now where people are utilizing like Instagram and TikTok to give their free stuff, give free advice. They're basically doing this to build their communities. A lot of them have a paid community on the back end. And it's becoming so popular that a lot of the social media companies now allow you to have a subscription option where people can subscribe to unique content, right? So you could pay $2.99 a month to follow Kim Kardashian and you get exclusive Kim Kardashian content that nobody else sees. This is just the next step beyond that where you now create a community around it. So like I own it's called Marketing Mastermind Club, right? Mm-hmm. Right now we have a bunch of free resources there. Ultimately what we're looking to do is create an entrepreneur community behind there. It's probably going to be a very, very low fee of entry to that community. But the idea is that we get people from all over the world that are at various stages in their entrepreneurial journey to actually be able to talk about things and have conversations where we then bring expert advice on certain things in certain areas. But because it's international, we won't give like legal type stuff. It would be more the operations, marketing, sales, the stuff that's pretty much universal.
Yeah, it works everywhere.
Right?
Yeah.
But if we don't gateway that with some kind of payment, we end up with everyone and their uncle that says, oh, I have a business. And then you ask them, what do you do? Like, oh, I sell homemade candles at the local fair, right? Like, yes, it's a business, but it's not a business. It's a job, right? Like
it's a hobby more than anything else.
Correct. So paid communities, once again, I think are always a great idea if you understand exactly where the value lies, right? And how much you need to charge, not necessarily to be able to get people in, but to keep the wrong people out. And it's probably going to be a controversial opinion.
Okay. So BitScience here doesn't really go into too much detail about what their community is. Just people that want to improve themselves.
Yeah.
That could be a lot of different things. But
correct.
All right. So let's move on. Let's see. Team development days work. This is Medical Garlic 3429. Let's see what they have to say. We have a 2-day team development day that we're looking at revamping. What are some things your company has done for you? I need something to focus on professional skills and something just to focus on for fun. Also, some ideas for a keynote speaker. So team development. All right, that I've been dealing with that for many years with lots of different companies. Everything from murder mysteries to just going out and to we did this years ago where we took our company to a day camp, right? Where they had rope courses and and things like that. And it was a lot of fun. It really was. I don't know that it necessarily builds the team. I think what it does is it gets people more in social situations with people that they wouldn't normally socialize with outside of work, which I guess builds the team over time. But I like the ones where the team has to, the group has to strategize together as a team, because that's what you're really doing when you're at work, is you're strategizing. So if you're going to focus on something that requires strategy. So one thing that we did, probably about 10, 12 years ago, was so when I was in the Marine Corps, we had different courses. We had the obstacle course, we had the confidence course, and then we had this course that, for the life of me, the name is eluding me at the moment, but it was where you had to work together as teams in order to get over certain obstacles, right?
Correct.
And we took our group to Quantico because they had that course set up, and we did that, and it was one of the most effective times as a group that we worked together, because there were certain situations where you would have, a swing here and a swing 20 feet apart, and everything on below it was lava, for example, right?
Right.
The ground is lava, right? The floor is lava, and all you had were 2 boards and a couple of rifles, right? With the Marine Corps, and you had to get across doing that, and it was a matter of taking the boards and positioning them a certain way and using the rifles as a third piece to keep the boards, and then taking the strap off the rifle. And it was that was the only way to do it. But you had to strategize and work together as a team to make it happen.
There's no way for one person to get it done.
And no one person is going to figure that out either. You really have to work together.
Right.
So stuff like that would absolutely be critical in team development, because it's not just about the social aspect of it. Otherwise, just go to happy hour, right? It's really about helping your team figure out who are the leaders, who are the strategizers, who are the people that really are just kind of there, right? And you can see this when you're doing challenges like that.
Yeah.
Have you done anything like that with your group?
No.
You really should. They're really a lot of fun.
Yeah, we just never needed to. Because
even if you don't need to, it's still something like, I'm not talking about a corporate retreat weekend, but it's just like a day, take a Saturday or something and take them out.
It's all of this stuff is kind of baked into our company culture. So we've never really had a need to do any of this stuff, right? It's because the way our culture is structured, people just do this because this is what they're taught from the day they walk in the door. Not saying it's perfect, but we've never had to do any of this stuff. Just a lot of them, believe it or not, have done it on their own.
Sure.
They organize stuff outside of work and do these things by themselves. And it's part of the culture that we teach, at least within my business, right? But I agree with you 100%. If you're doing something that is meant to be team building, have them do something where they're forced to work together as a team.
Right.
And
You
just
know, if you're
on
starting,
a social level.
and if you're starting a business to do something like that, you know, and I'm sure there's ones out there, but make it remote. You go to them, right? You be the company that goes to the other business and says, "Hey, we're going to train your team to work together as teams." Right? I came up with a game a while ago for a company that I was doing this. The company I was working at, we were it was at a beach, and so I had 4 teams. And we had 4 decks of playing cards, right?
Okay.
I'm sorry, a deck of playing cards, and I hid all the cards in the sand, like randomly throughout the area. And you had to find the cards in order. And the thing was, you had one person at a time who would go out and search for a card of your color, right, or your suit. And the game was, again, it had to be in order. So you had to bring the ace or the 2 back first, and then the 3, etc.
Right.
And the way they work together is someone would go out. And when you found a card of your suit, you could come back and tell your teammates where that card was. Right. And then people could strategize. Okay, we know the king's over here, so let's not go there yet. Let's go over here and look for this, that, or the other. That was a really cool game because, again, people had to work together and communicate and stuff like that.
And remember things together.
And it's a very simple game.
Yep.
It was a deck of cards. You know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's like that. It's like that match game, theoretically, right?
Right,
like
exactly.
You have to remember what pieces are where.
Yeah, so
it's pretty cool.
So games like that are fun. I love the team development. I love it. I think it's a great thing for.
So
a business.
I actually I read an interesting article the other day that there was a business that was trying to do this, but they used I mean, don't quote me verbatim on this, but one of the things they did is they wanted people to start hanging out in more social settings to actually get to know each other, right? Because the better you know someone, the more likely you are to be able to work with them. So they actually implemented a policy that if you went out with a team member immediately after work, you could bring back a receipt.
And they would pick up the tab.
And they would pick up the tab for up to like $30
Yeah,
or $40.
people would be getting
correct,
Kobe
right?
steaks and stuff.
But the requirement was there had to be at least 3 of you.
Okay.
And it had to be, you could only do it with the same team members X number of times in a year.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was like, that's actually ingenious because you're basically saying, hey, go grab someone. And if you grab someone that you don't know, we're going to pay for your happy hour, right?
Very cool.
Yeah, it was just an interesting, and apparently it at the time I read it, I don't know what the long-term effects have been, but apparently it was working for them. Like they were happy to reinforce it.
I can see that working. That's a cheap way to do it too.
It's a really cheap way to do it.
$30-$40 for a couple of drinks at a happy hour, maybe some appetizers. Oh God, that's a great way. I'll gladly pay $40 a day to have my team working closer.
I thought it was an ingenious idea, right? But so sometimes thinking outside the box of not what's available out there, but rather what would I really want my team to do, and then design an activity around that.
Yeah.
Right.
Very cool. All right. So there you go. Medical garlic. Hope that works out for you. All right. Let's see what we have here. No. They're all ads.
Yes.
Renting out Wi-Fi. Ooh, okay.
So there are now people, just so you are aware, it is going around on the SEO forums and SEO TikToks and SEO Instagrams, all that stuff, is people are literally, because Reddit and the way it works is now ranking very highly for specific searches.
Okay.
So there are people going out telling people start posting more on forums like Reddit with link backs to your website and all that stuff because it's going to rank. So a lot of these people...
They got to do something about that.
Reddit will eventually crack down on it. But so that is making its circles right now, which means you're going to see an influx of junk posting on like Reddit and Instagram.
What was the one we saw a few weeks ago? It was a pizza vending machine or something?
Yeah.
Every other post was a pizza vending machine.
I still like the pizza vending machine.
All right. Let's see. Muntacha says, feedback on idea, renting out Wi-Fi. Will it work? Hi, everyone. I'm looking for some feedback on an idea I have about a Wi-Fi rent out tool. Here's the situation. I'm living alone and find it annoying to pay the full Wi-Fi bill myself. Why is it annoying? It's a bill. You got to pay it. Meanwhile, I have several Wi-Fi signals in my area and would be more than happy to share the cost with someone else to get access to their Wi-Fi. Alternatively, I'd be open to renting out my Wi-Fi to others in the neighborhood. Now, before we go any further, Wi-Fi is all about location, though. How close are you to the router, right?
Correct.
So if you're talking about getting from the building across the street, you're not going to be happy with that Wi-Fi. It's going to be slow, and you're not going to be too pleased,
Correct.
even if you're paying less.
So let's assume proximity is not an issue.
All right, so let's assume they have access points everywhere. Okay.
No,
they did this years ago at Rittenhouse Square, where you know what I'm talking about. A couple of people got together, and a couple of the people that had owned the apartments, and they put access points all over Rittenhouse Square, so they had Wi-Fi everywhere.
Yep.
And it was beautiful. And then the city shut it down because they wanted to do the citywide Wi-Fi, which never came to fruition.
Correct.
Sometimes I'm back to this story. When I'm in sometimes when my Wi-Fi is down, I get really frustrated and wish I could connect to a nearby network. I'd be willing to pay a small fee to the owner for access during those times. I was thinking that in metro cities where almost every home has a Wi-Fi connection, but only a few users are actually connected at any given time, it might make more sense for people to rent out their Wi-Fi. This could reduce the number of separate connections needed, especially since most Wi-Fi networks can support up to 10 users without any issues. And then it goes on to talk about tariffs, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious, would you guys be open to paying for shared Wi-Fi access? Why or why not? Also, is there a real demand for something like this? Apparently he's in India, but let's assume it's anywhere. I'm considering developing a tool for it, but I want to gauge the need first. All right. You want to start or you want me to start?
I'll let you start.
You let me start.
And
Okay.
then I'll chime in.
The ISPs will never allow it. They will never allow you to do this.
Correct.
They will immediately crack down on it. Nope. They will immediately crack down on it.
In this country.
In this country. I'm not sure about other countries. I'm talking about the U.S.
Yeah.
They will immediately crack down on it because your user agreement when you sign up says that you are the one using it in your home or for your business, and you won't allow anyone else to use it without proper blah 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 blah.
That is
and they
correct.
will immediately shut it down. That's number one. Number two is whose name's on that account, because they're the ones that are going to be getting served with the subpoenas when the person's downloading movies and video and music files and things like that.
Yep.
And Verizon or whoever gets that subpoena from the the federal courts wanting to know, okay, who do we go after for downloading our content illegally? And then number three is you say 10 people can use Wi-Fi at the same time. It's really 10 devices because each person has a computer, or a laptop, maybe a tablet, a phone. I mean, one person has 4 or 5 devices alone. Internet of Things, your watch, right?
I had to install a second device, a second router at my house.
Yeah.
Just because of the Amazon Alexa
Right.
connected devices in my house.
Because it's content. It's always connected. Always.
They are now running on a separate network.
Yeah, because they are hogs. They hog up your absolutely. So is it a good idea? Oh, sure. I love the idea. It's community Wi-Fi. Everyone pays a little bit less. ISPs will hate it, and therefore they won't allow it.
Correct.
But please go ahead.
So I think it's a great idea if you can find a way to execute it, right? And that's what it comes down to is, can you buy because in this case you would have to buy a commercial connection from an ISP, right? But if you, just like they did at Rittenhouse Square, if they have a commercial connection and everybody that's on there, there's already tools out there that allow you to meter usage or how long you're connected.
Right.
And you could make it up pay by the minute or pay by the hour, right? And a lot of people don't realize this, but there are still places in the world where you have internet cafes.
Oh, yeah. They
Right?
still exist, yeah.
So those are people that don't want to pay for full-time internet because in a lot of places around the world,
It's very expensive.
and they don't use the internet like we use it here, right? Like,
Oh, the internet's ingrained in our lives. You can't get by without it here.
Correct. But like when I go to this tiny little town in South America, I was always surprised to find out that probably only about 30% of the population actually had an internet connection running
Fascinating
into
to
their
me.
house. A lot of them were already doing what this guy is talking about, right? Because the walls there are relatively thin. There's very few windows. Like signal travels pretty far. So
Yeah.
you can get 5-6 homes that are all located close to another, put a decent router into one of the houses, and everybody has access to it, right? So people are already doing this and sharing the cost, but it's always someone's name on it. So all he's talking about doing is just, if you can develop something where people could do this, and if they agree, oh, you're going to pay based on usage, that's really what the tool would be then.
Now he's in India. I don't know what the rules are over there, so maybe that'll work over there. But it's not going to work here. It's not going to work here.
At the end of the day, if this could be done, but I don't think the business is renting out the Wi-Fi. I think the business is selling the software or the tracking of who is using the internet for people that want to do this.
Right.
Because if you're just a software provider that says, hey, we're just going to track what IPs or what MAC addresses are logging onto the network, and then we're going to calculate usage based on who owns what MAC address.
Yeah, again, from a legal side of things, the thing I'd be most terrified about is those lawsuits, the downloading lawsuits. I'm telling you, I've been before federal judges on these things, and I heard a federal judge one time say to me, because the issue was that there were, I think, 8 people living in the house, and then that was the upstairs, and then downstairs there were more people, and they were all sharing the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And the judge said, and this is before we were even at trial, then tell your client to go to every one of them and buck up because someone's paying for this. So he was like, if you can't figure out who it was, everyone's responsible, even though he was the account holder. It was like, then tell him to go to everybody and get some money because someone's paying for this.
Oh, I remember back in the day, they used to just have open Wi-Fi everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like you could walk into a Burger King or McDonald's.
Right.
And just connect. And there was no verify who you are.
Right.
No,
No agree to our terms kind of thing.
Correct. But that's kind of what I'm saying is, I know when I go into a Starbucks, right, or a Burger King or any of these, and I am required to log in to do it. That is so that if I go in and I download a Warner Brothers movie, they can track who downloaded the actual Warner Brothers movie.
They'll track it to your MAC address, right?
So what I'm saying is this theoretically would work the same way as free Wi-Fi at restaurants. The difference is you're just deciding to bill people based on their usage.
Sure.
And if you have something in place that says, if you download this and this is your MAC address, you're getting that subpoena.
Yeah, it doesn't
right?
need to be the MAC address because if you're using it, there's a credit card involved anyway, right? Because you have to pay for it. So
well, once again, in parts of the world, there are people that do not have credit cards.
Right.
Like I saw firsthand where people were literally using like there's a kiosk that says pay your bills here.
Oh, sure.
And they're still like wiring money to pay for bills,
I've seen
right?
those.
So considering where he is from, I think in those parts of the world, this is far more executable than it is necessarily in more of the evolved countries as far as like legalities go and the contracts and the willingness to come after you. Because most European or US or Canada or the ISPs would come cracking down on this so fast that you wouldn't even know what happened.
Yeah, they wouldn't allow it. They
Right,
wouldn't allow it. All right, but in India, maybe it's a good business idea. I mean, I like the idea in general anyway.
I like the idea in general.
I hope you can do it, and I'd love to be a part of something like that here because internet gets expensive, and I know I don't use all my bandwidth all the time at all, and we're close to it.
Right now, nobody's using the bandwidth at my house.
All right, so good luck with that one, and let's see. We're coming up here. Wide permission 7656. I think I came up with a really good business idea. Oh, let's find out.
Now what?
I'm 35 male, and it's always been my ambition to come up with my own business idea and start a company. Now, I feel like I have a really good idea to start my own business. I am just stumped on what my next best steps should be. For those who have started successful business, any tips? I've always believed that every great business starts with just an idea, but what's next? Patent, making a prototype, finding investors. Are we going to find out what this guy does? I don't think so.
No.
With the idea, how do I find people who specialize in that type of product? Okay, so we don't know what this person's doing. They're just saying, I have an idea. What now?
Correct, but this is actually a really good question.
Okay.
Right? Because you and I have had this conversation.
All the time. I have this conversation at least once a week with a new client.
Yes. So, like, back in the mid-90s, I came up with this idea to place some kind of device in your mailbox that would then wirelessly turn on a light or put on a notification inside that your mail was here. And it was an idea that came because back then, I would watch my dad here get up 4 times during the day to go see if the mail was there, right? Like, because that was the thing.
It's the MIT coffee maker. The MIT coffee pot. You know about the coffee pot?
No.
Oh my God! I correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the first live stream.
Okay.
It was in the early '90s, and the students at MIT, the coffee machine was downstairs from their lab.
Yeah.
And so in order to see if there was ever coffee, they'd have to go downstairs. So they put it, and this is like '93.
They put in a live cam,
and it was called thecoffeepot.com, I believe. Right. And they could just go to it and see if there was coffee made.
Right.
It's the same thing.
So anyway, this product now exists, right? I think it's Ring that actually came out with a...
Right.
And it's using the exact same idea that I had 30 years ago.
Your patent would have expired by now.
It would have expired, right? But the thing was, like, I wouldn't even have known where to turn with that, right? Is exactly what he's asking. Like, do I make a prototype? Do I have to make a prototype? Can I just hire an engineer to design what the theory of this would look like and then file a patent based on my idea? This is where so many people get stumped, right? And I don't think there's a answer across the board, but my advice is always go talk to a business attorney first.
Right.
Right? Most of the time you guys are bound by...
Yeah, our ethics require us, if you come to us with, hey, I have this great idea, you don't need to get us to sign an NDA. We're already bound by ethics not to do anything about it.
Correct. So the business attorney will at least be able to point you in the right direction. So that should be your first call if you think you have a great idea, because most business attorneys can run a basic patent search to see if the idea exists in some form, whether it's patented, like whatever it is. From that point on, you now know whether or not you actually have a product. Because
a legal product. Anyway.
Correct.
Right.
If someone else already has it, trademarked or patent on it, whatever, you're not going to be able to move forward with it anyway. So before you start dumping money, make sure that you can actually do it.
Or if it is patented and the patent expires in 2 years, you can start building up your business for the next 2 years. And then once that patent expires, like fidget spinners, boom, you go right to the...
Right to market.
Yeah, right to market.
Finding investors, creating a brand, all of that stuff, none of that happens until you know whether you actually have something that you can sell and manufacture, right? And then we've talked about this before as well, is I like the idea of sell it before you produce it, right? So most people don't realize that when you sell something to Walmart, there is a expected delivery time, right? And the reason there's an expected delivery time is you may be selling something to Walmart that you don't already have in inventory. You get that PO from Walmart. You now go to your bank and say, hey, I have this PO from Walmart. I need to borrow $20,000 for 9 months so that I can go produce to fulfill this. And the bank looks at it and goes, it's Walmart. Here's your 20 grand. You now go and produce it. You deliver it to Walmart. You wait your 90 days or 180 days, whatever your term was with Walmart. They now pay you. You go pay off the bank. The bank gets a small cut, which is the interest, and you get to keep the difference, right? So anytime you're starting with this type of stuff, just like we talked about with the Tesla Cybertruck, see if you can get people to commit to whatever it is you have, as long as you have it legally protected. This is what's that online fundraising platform?
GoFundMe.
No.
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, right? That's theoretically what this is they start by coming up with an idea. They figure out whether they can even use it. They then file whatever necessary legal documents they have to file, and then they try to basically sell it and get investors at the same time. And it's part of the reason I love Kickstarter. It's such a great platform to just see whether you have a product that might actually translate to real life sales.
But like you said, the first point, and I'm not trying to promote myself. The first point is you got to go to a business attorney and see if there's an existing patent on that product, and if there isn't, get one.
Yes, that's your step. That's your step one, right?
Yeah, you'd be surprised at what's patented out there. I mean, there are so many think tanks out there that all they do is just come up with ideas for patents that they register but never actually patent. And they just...
they never manufacture.
I'm sorry. They never manufacture. They just patent it, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't really be shocked because I found out that, and this was just sheer coincidence, but there was a company in England, and basically all it was exactly that, a think tank. There were people, like 12 of them, whatever it is, sitting around coming up with ideas, and they had all the people in-house. So like if they came up with an idea, they would sketch it out, draw it out, do the technical drawings, and then file these patents on these things that they came up with no intent of ever producing any of them. They just wanted other people to then come and buy the patents from them. And when I heard what type of money they were making,
it's insane.
I was like, this is like, I always remember, when you watch Disney cartoons or whatever, right? And they're like, oh, I want to be an inventor. That is what a modern day inventor is you are no longer inventing stuff to be put out. You are inventing stuff hoping that other people will buy your invention.
And do you know that, I'm not sure if you know this or not, a patent doesn't actually have to be workable. Like it doesn't have to be real. It can be something that you think works, but in practical application, it doesn't work. Like there are patents out there for perpetual motion machines that we know don't work because of thermodynamics, right? Correct. But they're patented. They don't work.
Well, because you and I both know that if you come up with something that is relatively close to that patent,
the patent holds, right?
You can argue patent infringement, right? So, it's no surprise that, and like there are so many things out there that people have patents on, and we've talked about this before, where people are just watching it, going, okay, as soon as this patent expires, I'm going to start making this.
They just wait, wait, and as soon as it expires, boom.
Correct.
They're already ready to market.
There are things that are worth patenting. It's like this guy I met. He used to be a plumber, and it is some like uniquely weird fitting used in the plumbing industry. Like I don't know enough about plumbing to be able to tell you exactly what it was. He went out and patented it, and he leases his patent based on pennies per unit sold to a manufacturer. And the guy, last time I heard, was worth somewhere north of 9 figures. Making pennies. Wow. Yes. Because apparently it's something that is used and like in volume of like millions of items, right? But he just leased his patent to a plumbing manufacturer, and he gets like 2 cents or 3 cents for every unit produced.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm. All right, so this one is a funny one, patents. So years ago, we looked up the original patent for toilet paper because people argue, is it over or under for toilet paper?
Goes over.
It's the original patent is for overhand toilet paper. Overhand. That's right. So that settles the argument. It was originally patented as overhand.
That's how it's filed.
So you know that one. That's good. All right, let's move on.
So I think we got time for at least one more.
Yeah, we got one more here. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Pizza vending machines. There he is. He's back.
The rise of pizza vending machines in Europe.
That's right. That's Skylink. Oh, by the way, Skynet came online, 3 days ago officially, according to Terminator? According to the movie Terminator, Skynet came online, I think, August 29th, 2024.
It probably did.
Yeah. So Skynet's alive, people. It's here.
It probably is.
That and hoverboards.
Just wait another month, and someone is going to announce that they took a new server center live on August, whatever it is, and that we're going to find out turns out being Skynet.
You know what? This one's just for you. This is your. Oh no, never mind. No, that's it. Well, you know what? I'm not going to read the ad part of it. But I want you to address this because this is yours, okay? For the person, it's an ad, but what they're asking is how do you improve your email delivery rates? And this is something you specialize in quite a bit.
So it's part of what we do, right?
Yeah.
So email delivery rates. So there's a difference between delivery rates, open rates, and all that stuff.
Sure.
So what Google and Microsoft and all of them are doing is they are requiring more and more and more verifications that the email address is an actual email address, not a fictional made up that sends out spam. So in order to improve your email delivery rates, you need an actual functioning email address that has an SPF record and DKIM and DMARC and all that stuff. The second thing you need to do is then, just like with text messaging thing, you need to let that email address go through a warming up period.
Right.
Where you start by sending out 10 emails a day, then 20 emails a day, then 30 emails a day. Most people forget that portion of it.
Yeah, the revving up period.
And correct. And go to, and same thing, they now track IP addresses and all that stuff, right? Which is why there are specific services out there like SMTP Mailer that actually, if you use their service, they've already taken an IP address and all that stuff, and done a lot of that work for you to improve your email delivery rates.
Okay.
And someone in the comments is going to say, well, that's not true. But yes.
No,
That's basically
exactly
what these
what
companies do.
All right, here we go.
See, Skynet went online 1997.
Nah, there was something about 2024.
It became self-aware.
Become self-aware August 29th, 2024.
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, Sky went online August 4th, 1997, but it becomes self-aware.
Yes.
Something happened in 2024. There was something about it.
So basically, we're a couple of days away from OpenAI coming out saying, we think it's sentient.
We think
right?
it's sentient. Oh, man, that will be scary.
That is
an inevitability. It is an inevitability that is going to happen at some point.
It happened August 29th, 2024.
That's a few days ago.
They just haven't told us about it yet.
They haven't told us about it yet. Crazy. All right. I guess that's it for today. A little bit of a shorter. We did cover a lot. We covered Burning Man.
We covered Burning Man.
But
and how even something that may seem like hey, let's go burn this on the beach. Right?
Yeah, turn into this
massive festival.
And let me tell you something. I would have to say at least 30% of the people there were international.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah,
it's
but
crazy.
It's funny because I always use the analogy if someone is looking to grow a business, right? I always ask them how do you think bands become popular, right? Because you start a band. Where are you going to play your first gigs?
Right, small clubs.
Small clubs, normally locally, right? You normally start by getting known within your community. You then expand outside that community, and then it kind of, and then every once in a while, someone gets discovered by some random TikTok video, whatever, and all of a sudden they blow up, and now you're touring states and all that stuff. That's exactly the mindset people should have when building a business, is start by becoming a celebrity or get known within certain communities.
Sure.
Right? Do you have a Yeti?
Right, yeah.
Where did Yeti start?
I don't know.
In the wilderness community. They started with the fishermen and the campers, and they hired influencers that are like outdoorsy people to show how cool this Yeti was and how strong they were, because they started as coolers, right? And from that tiny little, I'm not going to say it's a tiny little niche market, but it is a community, right? Fishermen, sports fishermen,
it's absolutely
hiking people, they're communities.
Sure.
So they became super famous, so to speak, within those communities, And then those communities introduced this product to other communities.
Gotcha.
And those communities introduced it to other communities. That's exactly how you build a business.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same concept over and over. Everybody thinks it's complicated. It's not.
No.
Like most people just don't understand that you start small and build it up. Right?
He's got to put in a lot of work.
And you can target multiple different communities. Like Yeti targeted the fishermen, and they targeted the camping people, right? That not the camping people that have the RV and go and plug in, but the camping people that literally, like Burning Man, would need to pack something, an ice packet, and it had to last 6 days out in nature. Right? That's a totally different level than your average plastic cooler that you take to the beach that has to last the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they started. They built a niche product for a niche market and then just marketed it within a small community and then grew from there. Brilliant.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I mean, it makes sense that that's where it starts.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. That started with that community. I mean, that's a perfect analogy. It's right. You can start within your community, like a band or Yeti or whatever, and grow from there. Again, you're right. It's not hard. It's just it's a lot of work. You gotta be on top of your product.
And people misinterpret the word community a lot, right? It doesn't mean,
your township
where you live, right?
Yeah.
It's the communities you belong to, whatever those communities are. If you're a gamer, I'll guarantee you have a community.
Yeah, Discord.
Right? Correct, right? And Discord is now being used for all kinds of stuff, but they started what?
Yeah, as gaming, yeah.
And it's now one of the largest online communities, right?
It is.
I always remember back in the day. Do you remember IRC?
Sure, of course. In fact, the last IRC went out about a year ago, right? Maybe 6 months ago.
Discord probably killed it, right? Because that's basically what IRC kind of was. Is Discord is just a modern version of what IRC originally did. So start with your community, no matter what business you're getting into. Find out who is your community. Start by marketing and selling and creating products for them. And then let that community help you expand it to other communities.
All right. We'll leave it at that, man. We'll talk next week.
Sounds like a
You're
plan.
around?
I should be here.
I should be here as well. All right, cool.
Well, we're back to school life, right?
We are. You're back to school life. My son's in college now.
So he's back in school life too.
He's back to school life, but he's nowhere near us anymore.